There's this huge thing happening tomorrow, and folks in the XRP group have been talking around it for days, but nobody has explained the whole story in one spot yet. The president is about to make a move on digital assets. Coinbase is lined up to drop an announcement that could really shake up the whole market. And the fact that both of these big things are landing in the exact same 24-hour window is no accident. It comes from a full month of quiet work on policies, rules, and big company plans that were coming together while everyone was distracted by the daily price ups and downs. Let me lay it all out exactly. Every single number and detail here comes straight from government papers, official filings, company reports, and on-chain info you can check yourself. This isn't money advice. I'm just passing along public facts for learning. Always look into it on your own and talk to a real money expert before you do anything with your investments. It all starts with the president. To get why tomorrow matters so much for XRP, you have to see what this administration has been doing with digital assets from the very first day. They came in with the strongest support for digital stuff that any US president has ever shown. The orders they signed, the rules they put out, and the people they picked for key jobs aren't just small tweaks to old ways. They're a total shift in how the government works with this tech. And inside that big shift, they made choices that put XRP right at the sweet spot of their two main goals. The first goal is keeping the dollar on top around the world. The administration has been super clear that they see digital assets as a way to make the dollar even stronger globally, not something that hurts it. Right now, international dollar deals go through an old system run out of Belgium called SWIFT, and that's a weak spot for US security that a bunch of presidents have noticed but never fixed. Ripple built its tech right here in the US, under US rules, and it lets money cross borders way faster without needing that foreign setup. That's exactly the fix the administration's plan was made to support. The second goal is updating how payments work inside the government. The US handles trillions in payments every year for things like defense contracts, foreign aid, and treasury deals. All of those moves have the same old slowdowns that Ripple's system was created to wipe out. The administration told agencies to check out blockchain for these government jobs, and that's not just studying. It's basically shopping for real tools. Ripple is the company whose tech is the most ready, the most plugged into big institutions, and the clearest under the rules for exactly the jobs the government wants done. So tomorrow is the point where all that policy work finally hits a real decision. The president is taking a specific step on digital assets that the whole plan has been aiming at since those first orders. It's tied to the push for the Clarity Act, the rules already in place, and the timing that Ripple's big partners have been lining up with the administration's team. When the president steps in, it's not just a quick post. It's a real policy change that instantly updates the rulebook for every bank and company that has to follow US laws. Now, the Coinbase side is just as important, and the two parts fit together in a way most people haven't seen. Coinbase isn't only a place to buy and sell crypto anymore. In 2026, it's the main backbone that big institutions use for digital assets in the US. Their Prime service handles storage, trading help, and final settlements for the big clients who buy most of the XRP through professional funds. Coinbase holds the keys for several XRP spot ETFs. Their safety systems meet every federal standard that big players need. And their ties to US regulators are tighter and more positive than any other crypto company. When Coinbase gets ready to announce something that could jolt the market, it's never about some new app or retail gimmick. Their big moves fall into three buckets: new approvals that let them offer more to big clients, fresh listings that bring pro-level tools to an asset that didn't have them before, or partnerships that link their storage and settlement setup to regular banks and create brand new ways for money to flow into the assets they support. The announcement the XRP group has been watching for falls into that third bucket. It's a partnership that hooks Coinbase's big client tools straight into the old banking world so XRP can settle easier. That creates a flow of money way bigger than what ETFs alone can do. Once Coinbase becomes the bridge between banks moving XRP and the global XRP network, the volume isn't just from regular ETF buys, it's from the huge daily bank transfers those institutions already handle. The timing of Coinbase's news hitting the same day as the president's move is planned on purpose. In Washington, policy news and big company partnership news get lined up so they hit together and give the clearest signal at once. The government lays out the new rules, and the big infrastructure company shows exactly how it's going to work in real life. The market gets both messages at the same time instead of one after the other. That's what makes tomorrow stand out from everything else XRP has seen lately. Let me pull in the bigger picture with the big institutions, because that's what people like Raoul Pal, Tom Lee, and Goldman Sachs have all been hinting at. Goldman Sachs showed a $154 million XRP holding in their official filing. But those filings usually come out after the real moves have already started, so it tells you where they were, not where they're headed next. Goldman wouldn't drop that kind of cash on something they plan to dump soon. They put it in because they plan to grow it. Tomorrow's presidential step takes away the last bit of uncertainty their risk team has been watching, so that position will speed up fast. Bank of America has the biggest pile of Ripple-related patents of any bank on the planet. Those cover XRP for international payments, blockchain currency swaps, and linking into Ripple's on-demand liquidity. They didn't file all that just for fun. They did it to lock in their edge for tech they plan to actually use soon. Tomorrow's policy step gives the green light their rollout schedule has been waiting on. JP Morgan's Onyx system already settles about $1 billion a day in blockchain repo deals. The XRP ledger just got upgraded to work with the same tech language Onyx uses, so now they can technically connect. But rolling that out for real cross-border work beyond their own clients needs a solid policy setup. Tomorrow's presidential action creates exactly that clear environment. BlackRock is getting close to the $3 million assets under management mark that Canaccord Genuity's boss said would make them jump into the XRP ETF space. Grayscale turning their $2.1 billion XRP trust into a spot ETF, plus the money already coming in, puts that mark right around the corner. Once tomorrow's step wipes out the last policy question from BlackRock's review, their 90% confidence jumps to full go. The filing that comes after is the big okay that flips the risk talk at every other institution at the same time. None of these are separate stories. They're all one big coordinated reaction to the policy path the president is finishing tomorrow. Goldman's stake, Bank of America's patents, JP Morgan's setup, BlackRock's waiting point, every single one has been building toward the exact policy clarity that tomorrow delivers. Now look at the supply side, because the policy news plus the big company moves slam into a setup that makes the price jump bigger than normal. XRP has 61.3 billion tokens out there right now, but the amount that's actually easy for big buyers to grab at today's prices is way smaller. Ripple keeps 34% of the total in escrow and releases it on a set monthly schedule. Long-term big holders sit on another 17% and show no signs of selling anytime soon. On top of that, about 60% of current owners bought higher than the current price. So they're sitting on losses and aren't likely to sell until things really turn around. That leaves a tight free float. Tomorrow's double hit of presidential policy plus Coinbase's institutional partnership flips the ETF money flow from slow building to full speed ahead. When clear rules land at the same moment as new big company tools, money that was just sitting around ready suddenly starts pouring in. And demand hitting a small free float doesn't give you slow, steady climbs. It gives you those sudden big price jumps that Raoul Pal talked about and that we saw with Bitcoin ETFs back in January 2024. If ETF money keeps the January pace of $483 million a month, XRP ETFs would pull in about $5.8 billion by the end of the year. After tomorrow's spark, that pace picks up. The supply numbers don't change. 34% locked in escrow, 17% in cold storage, 60% of holders waiting for a real recovery. The free float stays tight. Only the demand side shifts tomorrow. Here's what it could mean for your own bag, turning the story into straight numbers. Right now at 1.42, $1,000 gets you about 704 XRP. If it hits 280, that's Standard Chartered's short-term call and the first big wall where big orders slow down. Those same 704 tokens would be worth 1,271. At $5, the low end of the range this catalyst could open, they're worth $3,221. At $8, the high end for the near-term target, $5,630. At $12, the next step, assuming institutions switch over on the same fast track Bitcoin took, but sped up by tomorrow, $8,448. At $20, the model for the case where the president's move and Coinbase's news get Goldman, Bank of America, and JP Morgan all buying heavy in the same quarter, $14,085. At 28, Standard Chartered's 2027 target, $19,718. And at $50, the bigger picture, if even a tiny slice of world cross-border payments starts using the setup tomorrow's action makes possible, $35,200. Scale it up however you want. $5,000 invested means multiply every number by 5, $10,000 by 10, $25,000 by 25. The solid floor at 127, backed by over $400 million in on-chain buys at those levels, means the most you could drop from here is about 10%. The upside to the short-term target is around 97%, and the wider institutional range is 200 to 3,400%, 10% down versus 200 to 3,400% up. That's the same lopsided bet Goldman built their $154 million position on, the one Bank of America spent years patenting around, and the one tomorrow's double move is about to prove real. Tomorrow kicks off the whole chain, not the finish line. The president's step plus Coinbase's news is the spark that the tight supply, the big company bets, and the policy path have all been waiting for, but it starts a sequence. The Clarity Act gets its next big review in the second half of April. When tomorrow shows the administration is all in on this digital path, the push for the Clarity Act speeds up. Senator Lummis's schedule and Senator Moreno's deadline both get easier to hit once the White House has already shown it's heading the same direction the law would lock in. After that comes permanent U.S. law that would officially call XRP a commodity. Then the BlackRock threshold crossing happens right after the policy confirmation. Tomorrow removes the last question mark from their review, so they cross that $3 billion line and file fast. BlackRock doesn't sit around. Once the signal is this strong, they move. April ETF flow numbers come out in the first couple weeks of May. If tomorrow speeds up the money coming in past January's pace, those numbers will prove the big wave has started instead of just building. The first group of institutions that finish their checks in the weeks after tomorrow will show their money in April's data. Once that data confirms the speed up, the next group that was waiting for proof jumps in too. Then come the actual bank rollout announcements. Bank of America's patents, JP Morgan's Onyx system, Wells Fargo's blockchain tests, Citigroup's payment evaluations, all of them were just waiting for the final policy piece. Tomorrow hands that piece over, and the announcements follow. They always do. The President of the United States stepping up for digital assets isn't some everyday rule tweak. It's the top leader of the world's biggest economy officially backing an asset class that 2 years ago was still fighting just to survive. When that happens, every central bank tied to the dollar system resets its own timeline. Every friendly country that was watching Washington before picking its own digital path gets the green light. Every big company compliance team that wanted one more proof before approving XRP gets it straight from the top office. Coinbase jumping in the same day proves the policy isn't just talk, it's ready to run. When the company that holds and settles most U.S. institutional XRP says something big on the same day the president acts, the message to every big money allocator is simple. The rules are solid, the tools are built, and the door is wide open. The XRP group has been waiting for the exact moment when policy, tools, big company money, and market setup all line up at once. Goldman's stake is on record. Bank of America's patents are filed. JP Morgan's system is already live. BlackRock is sitting at the edge. The Clarity Act is moving forward. And tomorrow the President and Coinbase are giving the spark the whole chain has been waiting for. The price sits at 142, the floor is holding strong at 127. And the real institutional setup that Goldman, Bank of America, JP Morgan, and BlackRock have all built around is about to get the highest level stamp of approval from both U.S. politics and big finance at the exact same time. Tomorrow isn't just another day for XRP. It's the day the long wait finally ends.